Hello, this is a summary video of the early childhood sections of the child development course, chapters 7 to 9 in the OER textbook. Chapter 7 covers the physical development of children, and we're talking about ages 2 to 6, 2 to 7, the early childhood years when children, excuse me, growth rate slows considerably in comparison to how quickly they grew when they were toddlers, but conversely, the brain grows tremendously, and it's linked very much to their cognitive development during this time period. So their ability to think about things and interact with the rest of the world grows tremendously during these years. Lot of development of their both gross and fine motor skills. They're able to walk more easily. They're running, they're jumping, they're moving around. Their fine motor skills are improving. Their ability to draw, use crayons, play with pencils and paper are evidence of their continued physical abilities, as well as part of their cognitive development, which we'll talk about shortly. The importance of exercise is critical to instill that in kids at this age. What you're looking to do, both in terms of exercise and nutrition, is to instill in them the good habits that hopefully that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. Getting kids used to physical exercise and getting them used to healthy eating. If you're able to do it at this age, there's a much better chance as they grow older that they'll continue to develop those healthy lifestyle habits, excuse me. Later in the chapter, there's a discussion about other issues of looking after the health of kids at that age. Accidents are a very important thing to try to prevent for children in the early childhood years. So in making sure that they wear a helmet when they ride their bikes, the importance of safety when they're traveling in motor vehicles. Certainly the law requires that they be belted in safely, but it's also important that their parents and caretakers make sure that happens every time they go out in the car. Quick overview of Chapter 8, the cognitive development of children at this age. As always, the chapter starts out with a discussion of the Swiss psychologist Piaget and his stages. At this age, he's talking about the pre-operational stage, where children are not yet able to conduct formal operations and formal organized thinking, but are getting a better sense of how the world around them is constructed and how they fit into it. They're beginning to perform some operations. There are some interesting terms, key terms that you'll be introduced to. The notion of egocentrism, where children are just beginning to understand how they fit in with the rest of the world, but their ability to separate themselves from others is still somewhat limited. Animism, the idea that children assign animated abilities to their stuffed animals or other things, is a interesting phenomenon that we watch with them. The concept of conservation will be introduced in this chapter, and there's a video that illustrates how some children are not quite able to grasp the idea that a cup of water, when poured into a different shaped vessel, is still the same volume, and they will often choose the one that looks highest or widest and say that that's bigger, but in fact they're pretty much the same. Their memory will be discussed at some length in Chapter 8, and both their long and short-term memories are improving. And then there's a good discussion towards the end of the chapter about language acquisition. You'll be introduced to some terms that will continue to be used throughout the course. The rules of language, syntax, semantics, pragmatics will be introduced and discuss how those fit into the way that children acquire and improve upon their language skills. And there's I think it's a fun section where they discuss the WOG test, where children have some fun learning how to use the plural of different terms. And then a quick summary of chapter 9, where the authors discuss the socio-emotional changes that children go through during the early childhood years. They begin to see themselves as separate beings from their parents. Their perspective of others is beginning to improve. The concepts of sympathy and empathy are introduced to them, and they, for the first time, might be able to understand how they would feel bad if they had fallen on the playground and skinned their knee when it was their friend who actually had that accident. There'll be a discussion of the moral development of children and how they learn right from wrong. And then, to me at least, the most interesting discussion in chapter 9 is the discussion of the 4 parenting styles. Authoritative parenting will be compared with 3 others that have some authoritative being the ideal, where a parent sets firm boundaries, yet listens and discusses issues with their child as they get older and more mature, gives them increasing independence to make some of their own choices, versus authoritarian parenting, where what I say goes. Children are meant to be seen and not heard, is a phrase that I remember from my childhood, which is very much not something that we emphasize today. And then 2 other parenting styles that are less strict. Permissive parenting, where parents clearly care and love their children, but give them too much freedom, don't set quite enough boundaries. And then finally, neglectful parenting, where they're just hands off and not paying any attention. So those 4 parenting styles are compared with authoritative parenting being the ideal that parents should strive for. And then a few other quick discussions at the end of chapter 9, discussion about changing nature of families in the world today, in this country today. Divorce, working parents, parents in same-sex relationships, and the impact that some of those things have on children as they're growing up will be discussed. Their interaction with their peers will be discussed. And finally, the importance of play. There are a number of slides in a video about how important it is to provide opportunities for different types of play for children, because they learn and develop in different ways according to the types of play that they engage in. And then finally, a couple of slides at the end about the impact of the media and screen time. When I was a kid, we talked about watching too much TV. Now there are so many other different options that children have for looking at a screen, whether it's video games, different types of social media, and of course, television is still a factor as well. So again, that's a very quick summary. This video, as well as the other video summaries, are not meant to be a replacement for viewing the slides, reading the notes, watching the YouTube videos that are linked and embedded, and of course, reading the book itself. But I've highlighted what some of the important issues are for you to be looking for as you go through that material. So thanks very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.